Hey, what is up guys? It is Jack here and welcome back to another Jurassic World Evolution 3 video. So I know it's been a while since my last video, it's actually been a month, but I've been doing some live streams here and there, but I've just been kind of in a slump on what been wanting to do. Now I do have a Jurassic World remake coming out soon. I am pretty much 10% of the way completed with that. So that's my little update on that. I'm not gonna give a date as when I'm gonna have it uploaded because I don't want to disappoint you guys that much. But we are doing a new series. This was actually suggested by Imoga on the Discord. Imoga's my moderator, so thank you Imoga for giving us suggestions and thank you for modding my streams and all that stuff. Even though I hate you, but uh, no, tough love, tough love. But in this one we are making Paradise Island. Now, this is a island that I'm going to be using for our build. So as you guys can see right now, we have an entire island here, and we are using a couple of things that I'm gonna show you guys in the actual video. But this is the finished product of the island. You guys can download this in Jurassic World Evolution 3. The share code will be in the description below and at the end of the video if you guys get to it. So without further ado, let's get into this video, guys. And if you guys do enjoy this video, please don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get to it. All right, guys. So starting off this video, let's just go ahead and say what we are using, the resources specifically we are using. So we are using a custom map from the workshop. This was created by Trashman, and it originally was created by Indiana Jones. Trashman basically just added the 20 by 20 grid that we are seeing now, made out of the walls. And the share code for the 20 by 20 grid map is going to be on the screen right here. And yeah, let's just get into this. So this was actually suggested by Imoga. I simply asked one day to suggest a simple, small build that was only going to take one episode. Imoga, doing what Imoga does, likes to not listen to me. So this is going to be probably a 5-parter. I don't know how long this is going to be, but I'm most of my series go on for at least 5 parts. But this is going to be a Paradise Island. You can see it on the screen right now. It's probably been on the screen for like the last 30 seconds at this point. But you can see the different parts of the island. You can see the 20 by 20 grid. And we're going to try to make this as detailed as possible. Now, I know you guys might be saying, Jack, where's the Jurassic World remake? I'm like 10% done with that. So I need something in the in the meantime for you guys. But that's coming out at some point. I'm not going to give a date for you guys anymore for that one because every time I give a date, I feel like I'm rushing it, and I don't want to rush it for you guys. I want it to be amazing. And it's looking pretty good so far, but again, it's only 10% done. Anyways, back to this video. You can see the different parts of the island, right? And I have a little legend in the corner, but some of it doesn't really explain everything. So we have our beaches, we have our mountains, our cliffs, and then our different like jungles, our enclosure types, and the, of course, water. It's an island. So in this episode, we're going to be forming all of this, specifically the island though, right? Enclosures and all that stuff will happen over time. Obviously, we will start with the terrain, the island, and then we'll get to the amenities like the innovation center, which is that big circle in between the 3 carnivore enclosures, and then, our different processes to get onto the island. So let's start off with our outline of the island. Our island is going to take up a large amount of space of this grid. I made sure of that so we don't have that many issues with the scaling of things. But let's just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is our 10th one, and this is the one where we're gonna have to actually grab our water tool. And we're gonna actually have to bring this out and then up so. It goes across by 2, and then it goes up at the last second, and then it goes up into this one. So there's a specific art style. I actually don't know what it is. It's been a while since art class in high school, but there's a specific art style that kind of grids it and cuts it up into grids so you can draw it better. That's basically what we're doing with this, and it's allowing us to actually make this very specific. Let's go ahead and do that. We just have to make sure we don't lose track of where we are, or else this whole thing is going to be messed up entirely. So let's just make sure we got that. And I'll probably just end up speeding this up. We might also want to change the radius on this because I do notice that the brush is a bit thick. Okay, so like see right now, I kind of forgot where I was. So let's try to fix that up. I think it was right here. Okay, so you can see that they kind of messed up there, somewhere like right about here. I accidentally made this area one lower, so it messed with the whole entire area for this part right here. But I think we fixed it because this is now 1, and this one is going to be beach alongside this. The only issue is I don't know where this ends. There's a third one right here. So I'm assuming this is where this beach actually starts. The beach will start like right about here, and it'll extend all the way to, I believe, here. So that's how long the beach is going to be, which does make sense. We just have to make sure we take note of that. So that's why I'm putting these kind of elongated out here more. But let's continue on the island. Okay. So now that we're at the lagoon area, so what we're going to do with the lagoon actually is we're going to keep the lagoon area still in the water for now until we get to it, because adding the lagoon area right here will probably make it look a bit weird. So we're going to just form the shape of the island. So instead of going like up and around for the lagoon area, we're going to go down and follow the beach. Beach goes down here. I'll put we want to make sure we give enough space for the lagoon area. And obviously the lagoon area will lagoon area will change or change the shape of the beach area. Okay, the fact that we got to here without any issues is a good sign. We are now pretty much halfway done with the island to show the outline of it. There you can see we're more than halfway done actually, which is nice. This is a part of the lagoon area. Okay, nice. All right. We still have to be wary about this area though. This area is going to be the most annoying. The area with the like, I guess it would technically count as a bay, I want to say. But let's yeah. Okay. So you can see our island is now outlined and completed. Now we just fill in the gaps. Now this we kind of messed up here a little bit, but I think we'll be okay. This area is just going to be a big hotel with some bungalows on the outside and a water like cabana area over here. So we should be okay. Only thing we have to make sure is that we got the dock area right, which we did, which is good. Only area that we kind of messed up on was I think right here. Everything else I think is pretty much perfect. Obviously there are points where like I said right here, the beach, right? There's going to be a beach here and there's beaches all around and there's the lagoon that we're going to have to fill in later. So we're just again filming the making of the entire outline of it, of the actual terrain itself and the island shape. So let's just take this large tool and go around the entire place. Maybe I should turn off the weather. Okay, let's Control Z that. But I am loving the outline of the island so far, which is nice. And the grids aren't impeding on the terrain tool or I think any of the buildings that will be placed too. So we can just keep this here until the very end and until we want to remove them. as we go along as well, just so we can get the shape entirely completed. Okay, now we can just take our larger tool and just fill in the rest of this islands inside. We shouldn't have to worry too much about the coast anymore because the coast is now completed. Okay, we just want to make sure that we remove all the water because there might be some still left just randomly along if we're just using circles like this. So we just want to make sure that we remove all the water. Okay, everything's looking good. Wetland. All right, nice. Now we're gonna save some face here, and we're gonna actually just paint the entire thing with the grass texture. Um, just because a lot of this island is going to be grass, and we can just repaint the beach areas, beach, and the cliffs areas, cliff. So we just want to make this all look nice, just so we can start planning some like more stuff as we go along, and just not worry about how it looks. We basically just want to create the island. That's yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yep. Yep. And a little note for you guys who are wanting to follow along, or I guess use this island. This island will be completely uploaded for you guys with and without the grid. Um, when this video releases, so you guys can check it out. The codes for the share codes would be in the description below. So if you guys want to download this island, go ahead and use it in the description below. And if you guys want the full image of the map that I am using that I made, you guys can join the Discord and it'll be there as well. The Discord is linked in my description or on the card in the top right. All right, guys. So we have filled this island with just all grass. So we're going to take a little pause here and we'll be back. I'm going to get all the different versions of this island before we actually get started. All right. Now it is time to do the terrain and the beaches and the cliffs. So we don't have a specific height map for this. What we were going to do was something very simple. We were going to be doing 2 or 3 different mountain ranges and then cliffs along some sides of the mountain or some side of the island and then beaches around the rest. So we're going to be using the grid still, and we can actually use the grid and put terrain over the different areas of it, which is nice. So we're going to go ahead and utilize that before we remove the grid on this part of it. So let's go ahead and start. So since we have our main area for the, I guess, island already done, the outline, the shape, let's go ahead and try to use that as reference. So we're going to go from this south west corner of the island, and we're going to go up 3. So we're going to go 1. This is 1, 2, 3. Get to here. Okay. We're going to actually start painting before we do any terrain stuff. Okay. So we're going to paint. And this is going to go around here. The paint is a lot more easier to use than the water because we get to see what we want to work with. Now, Again, this might be a little bit large, a little bit large for some things, because if we take our operations buildings and look at them, you can see how big they are. Some of them are large, some of them aren't. We will be using this is going to be a paradise little island, so we might be using the den resources instead of other stuff. But we also want to try our hand at building these our own. So honestly, we can really like decrease the size of these buildings that they give us. So, you know, that's a whole different thing that we have to plan out. But yeah. So let's just go ahead and continue on this. So this is going to continue up here. So this goes here, goes kind of around in here, and then it goes out. And I guess we're just going to speed run this as well. Okay. So I'm starting to see where I kind of messed up here. This is 3. It's on the 4th block out when it should be on the 5th one. Okay, so we're gonna have to work around this. So it should technically be here. It's okay. We can just work with this because this is all mountain and grass anyways. So we can just shape the mountain differently here. We're not gonna really fix that mistake. It's not really worth fixing since it's not gonna matter to any of the rest of the actual attractions. It might matter here because up here we have the monorail station, but that's honestly the only thing we have up here. So this is going to continue on this way, but this will actually go up and around like so, probably. We might indent this though right here for the monorail track. So something like this maybe. Okay. So I guess let's fill this in now so we know that this is going to be a mountain range. Yep. And right here is where we're going to be having our aviary, right? So on our map, the monorail track goes from like right here to the main street, which is going to be right here. And then it's going to go all the way around and go over here. Now, I know we can just loop the monorail tracks right here, these two, the one for the lagoon and the one for the aviary. The only thing about that is between the aviary and the lagoon, there's going to be some hills, and this will be like open area where we're going to have probably either some roaming dinosaurs or we're just going to have some other smaller attraction for like herbivores and stuff, because we have a species list for this build. It actually got changed, which is an issue because that's what we kind of messed with. But I think we can fit well, I mean, obviously we can fit more enclosures into this because we do have a large open space that will be available up here, but it'll end up probably being a tour, most likely, if that's the case. And I might want to use the Jurassic Park vehicles for that. Okay, let's go ahead and take our pull again. And we're going to go up to... Let's go to this end right here. We're going to go up 2. So 1, including this one. 1, 2. All right, and then here we're going to have a piece that goes here, here, And it's going to curve like up there. So this is going to go like this. Then curve. Okay. And then we're going to have a piece from here to around here. And this is going to curve. Okay. And then we're going to have a piece from here to here. But this is going to extend out. And then curve. And then we're just going to keep going. Okay. So we have another mountain range completed. So let's fill it in. Right. And then we have one more in the center. So let's go ahead and use this part right here. And we're going to go up 3. So 1, 2, 3. This one right here, it's going to be from, shrink this a bit more. Starting off, let's go from here to here, with it going down here first. So it's going to go like this. And then let's continue. This is a smaller mountain, so we should be okay here. And then it's connected. All right. Nice. So let's fill this in. And then we have all of our mountain ranges completed, right? Let's actually turn off the weather because that's what I've been meaning to do for a minute now. Calm events only, no weather events. Okay. Now we have the cliff parts. For the cliff parts, let's use the cliff tool. Or the cliff brush. And let's brush off the cliffs first. So we're going to start off here. And we have a cliff that kind of goes along here. And it goes along this one. And then it goes up here. And then it takes over the beach over here. And then this goes all the way until it gets to this beach area right here. So this will all be cliff up here. So let's make sure that we get the water in there. Okay. And then this will all be beach, but this will still technically be a cliff. So this is going to go in. Well, the beach is up front. Goes across here. Goes across here. Goes across here. And then it takes over again. And then this goes on all the way until it gets to, I believe it's right here. This is beach. This is beach. This is beach up until here. So let's do all of this right here. and make it all cliff. All right, we have to remember to fix that, but I got a little carried away there. All right, and then now let's shrink it up a little bit because we're gonna go inland a bit. So this is going to be cliff. Up until here. Is this the right size? Let's do it and then we'll see. Okay, so the distance between this, well, I guess this one, is the rest of this and this. Yeah, no, okay, this is the right size. It just looked a bit weird. Okay. So the terrain's gonna go upward like that. Right? And then this will be the making of the cliff. All right, so our entire right side for the cliffs are done. Actually, no, that's the entire cliff area. Everything else is beach. Okay, cool. So let's add in our beaches. So let's start off here. Fix this. So let's do a beach here. We have to remember that we want to fill this in with normal water at the coasts. Okay, so that was a beach. Then we have a bit of a beach here. This beach goes all the way along here. So we're going to do that last. We're going to get this part up here first. Okay, so this entire area is a larger beach as well. So let's get this done. Again, we might need to touch up like everything pretty much once we get further and like do the cliffs and all that stuff. Okay, then this is all beach. Everything else is beach now. So we can go ahead and do that. The only thing we have to remember is that we have to turn this entire coast into normal water. Okay. And then this specifically is where it starts becoming grass. So we're going to build coastal beaches just a little bit for now, and then we'll touch up on them later. But all of this will be a beach anyways. Especially this. This right here, this will be Mega Beach. Well, let's just make this up until now. Okay, nice. Now, last thing we have to do is a beach here. Again, this might be modified later because of the lagoon, but for right now, let's just put a beach just to give it that environment that we needed to give it. Okay, and then we're back to our start pretty much. So let's get here. Let's get to the start. Fill up this beach right here. Cool. Nice. Next thing we probably would want to do is put some shallow water. So this shallow water is going to be at the edges of the beach. So we're gonna specifically put shallow water at the beach edges. We don't want to get too close to the edge of the map though, because it'll kind of mess things up a bit. Okay. We're going to go through this again and fix some of our spots, modify them, because there's not going to be any shallow water where the cliffs are. So we're just putting this down first so we can have the water, and then we're going to go through, fix it. like specifically right here. There's not going to be any shallow water here, so I'm just actually going to skip this until we get to up here. Okay, and the shallow water that I'm putting down is spontaneous. It's not anything, any specific design. We're just putting down the water just because we want to put down the water and like give it some type of depth to it. Because why are we having beaches with no accessible like actual water right off the bat? Okay, there is a part up here though that we want to be careful about. It's the Dimetrodon enclosure. This area right here, we don't want this all to be water or shallow water. So we're just going to cross here and then bring this in. So we're going to have a dam here, but like a nice one, not like a stone barrier, you know? And then right here, actually, I think we might keep it the way it is up there with the deep water. But let's think about that. So let's take our tool and let's see if this actually works, because this has been giving me issues lately. Yeah, I have no clue why it does that. This should still technically be... Yeah, let's just paint the ends of this so we don't get the grass texture. And we're going to want to smooth it out a bit more so it's not prominent. Okay. So let's take our shallow water and see if we can mess with this a bit. I'm not seeing that we can mess with it. I don't think we can make it shallow at some points rather than others, which just sucks, but I wish there was more of a gradient in like how shallow it gets. Because we can't. Because this doesn't modify that either. Okay, it's okay though. So we do want to remove the water, or we do want to add deep water here. I know this is kind of just us going back over and just removing what we just did, but we're gonna remove the water there. Okay, and then remove it here. And then this is where the docks are going to be, so let's remove it a bit here. I guess what we're using the shallow water for here is just to add like another little outline of it before it gets down into the water, because when you look at the beach, right, you do see a bit more of the deep water after like a certain like drop off point. And I guess if we're trying to like compare this to the size of people, I think it might be an okay distance. It's just honestly kind of disgusting that we can't really paint the rocks unless I'm missing something here. But it's been like that for like a lot of the other stuff as well though, like building mechanics for the game. But I think we just made it a bit better now. By removing some of it and leaving some other stuff. I think we're okay with that. Right. So let's now create our mountains. So our mountains are going to be interesting. So this entire part is going to be elevated more. So I think what we should work on first is elevating this. So we're going to elevate this a distant amount. Let's make this so we can't mess with this too much. Okay. So I do want this to be a decent height. I think this might work. Okay. So we're going to want to carry this all along the coast and follow the outline. So we want to at least make it halfway through. Okay. Okay, so this right here, this entire area right here, this is going to go down. Okay. So we should probably layer this a bit. So this is all going to stay one size for the most part, unless it's a cliff or unless it's a hill. But for the most part, that's going to stay the same. This right here, this mountain is going to be level with this. So this entire area right here, the height of this will continue to the mountain, but not past the mountain here. So to be more specific, this is going to go down here. This is probably going to go down here, but we're still going to have cliffs. So it's most likely going to go down this way. Right. So our line for our terrain, let's use something that we haven't actually used yet. Let's not use groundwater, sand. Almost okay. This terrain level will probably end here, right? And this will be in line with this again, right? Same thing with right here. Everything is pretty much going to stay the same. There will be a different like hill right here between the aviary and the lagoon, so we can't really see the aviary. But there most likely will be a cliff though. So, which if you try to think about it, right, that means if there's a cliff, then there has to be some sort of terrain difference. Now, for the lagoons, we can't have them be at a different terrain level, because we want to make the lagoon to be like in line with the water. So the lagoon area isn't going up higher, right? We're not going to go lower into the ground either. So if we are going to do some terrain work with the aviary, it would probably end up being that the aviary is higher. I don't really like that. But if we do it that way, if we make the aviary lower, actually, we could take this, right? Make a cliff here. Some tree lines. Right? This goes lower, so this goes lower. But this would also go lower. Okay. So if we had to consider a terrain line, this would probably end up being it. And this would probably end up being it up until like a certain amount here. But then we can start to make floodplains here. The floodplains can be used for some of our other animals. We could actually possibly bring this up to right here to not make it as linear. So cliff can continue over here. We have the lagoon right here. We have enough space for the lagoon, which this would also make sense why we have a monorail going from down all the way to right here. then across over here to right here to get to the lagoon instead of it going across, because we don't like the sudden terrain changes for the monorail, right? Because that messes up the track. So it would make sense in this case. And for the aviary, we weren't going to specifically do like something like this. Wow, that's actually kind of small. We might get away with doing something like that, but I kind of want to make my own aviary with the obstructions that we can do. So custom aviary, custom little Hermitrodon area, you know, all this stuff. So I think we have the terrain work good. So to sum this up, this whole area is level, right, with the ocean. This is sea level or ocean, sea level, sea level. This is the sea level, right? This as well is the sea level. We might modify this a bit right here. I don't know yet, but this is all sea level as well. And then you can see where it goes up, right? Because I kind of like the idea that this will be a cliff at the end of the day. But I don't see the logic in it, because if we look at the map, I think we can get away with this being a cliff right here. But this would need to extend it this way. And then at that point, it would be here. I would change it. Meaning this goes down this way. Sorry. This goes down this way. Right? To be in line with this height. Okay. And this is going to be our operations area anyways. So I kind of like the fact that it would be higher. So we could honestly add a cliff here instead of a beach. And if we want to, we can have this beach, or we could have this cliff end here. And then this goes down this way. Okay. Which means that this terrain land will probably end up being right here. So you can see that we're kind of planning this a lot more. We want to make it actually have a reason for the monorail to completely ignore going up this cliff right here. And we kind of give it a decent reason, because this is going to be sloped, right? This is going to be sloped. This is all going to be one level. So if we do monorail right here, monorail somewhere right here, it would make sense for the monorail track to go from here to here, all the way through here and to here, because we want to avoid this. Now, we can definitely make the case that we can have the monorail track goes like into the area and around it here, but it's just like once you get to here, you're going to have the monorail track both being next to each other, and we're gonna have to do some weird track stuff right here, where it's gonna either have to loop or we had two monorail stations, and two monorail stations unfortunately does not look good anymore. We can't really glitch it like that, like how we did with the first game, because they added like the monorail stations I think are a bit larger, unfortunately. So just even the base building itself, because I don't think you can modify the bottom part as much, and they have some like concrete structures that are stuck on it even if you try to custom design it. So it's some weird stuff. But anyways, let's go ahead and make our terrain. So we want to bring this out some more, and let's actually specify this. So this terrain will start here and it'll flatten out about here. Okay. We might do two terrain shifts here though. So this one might end up going something like that. We don't want it to be too straight because it's just going to look unnatural if the terrain is straight when it's shifting, right? And then here, instead of it going down immediately, let's make it that it goes down right here as well. Okay. So this is going to extend out to here, all the way to this cliff. Now this, we're just going to bring this up anyways because this is where the mountains are going to be. And it's just going to be better if this is just modified now rather than later. Okay? Because the mountain's going to be a mountain. It's going to be a big obstruction anyways. Okay. And then once we get to this point, we are going to bring this out. Let's modify this so we can move this in so we don't take up that much space. Okay. And then we can bring this all the way in now too. So let's increase the size of the radius of this. And good. So that entire area is now level. The only thing we want to do now is we want to bring this up. So let's see how this works. Hopefully this doesn't mess this up too much. So let's create a dynamic ramp from here to here. And then from here to here. And then from here to here. This one might need to be changed a bit. Interesting. Okay. Then we're going to probably want to smooth all of this out right here. This as well. We want to smooth this out. We want this to like kind of have a U-bend, kind of, clearly, kind of. Okay. And then once we get to this part right here, we kind of want to clear this out a little bit too. Now we might want to obviously do the ends of our cliffs like this. Not too much though. We want to slightly get rid of, so let's turn off the intensity or turn down the intensity. We want to slightly get rid of the rigidness of it. And obviously we're going to have to repaint a lot of this side anyways. If it's okay, if you guys don't like the top moving, we can just completely do the bottom parts of this because that actually makes it look a lot better, right? When you just modify the bottom. And obviously you have the issues with the water happening and they're all at different like and all that stuff. But the key here is that we want the tops to stay the same, like hardness. And then the bottoms, we just want them to be smoother. So it doesn't just look like it's just going straight into the ground. And then, oh, right here, we have to do some terrain work as well with the brush. So this is going to be interesting because we want to bring this up. So this is going to be a different level than this. Probably want to do a little bit more. Because we're just going to bring this up a little bit. Okay. So this right here is going to be dynamically ramped. Like so. And then this as well. I think this might be okay. We don't have to worry about this other part right here. Okay. Now let's worry about this. Again, the mountain is going to be some sort of weird thing going on. We'll worry about that when we actually work on the mountain. But for right now, let's actually just do the cliffs here. And then this. Okay, I think that should be okay though. So let's do the bottom, smooth the bottom out here, right? We have the bottom of this working now. And again, there's going to be some fences going around here. So we're okay. Okay, so the cliffs are good. Cliffs are great. And we pretty much have this area entirely built up. So I think I might want to do some work here. I don't know. I think I might want to bring this up a bit and slope this, maybe. Slope this. There we go. All right. So the next thing we want to do is we want to work on the other side, right? So we want to work on this right here. Now we said we wanted this to be lower, not higher, right? So this is going to be a bit weird because this is going to go from high. So it's going to go low, high, low, or I guess normal, then lower than normal. So this area right here, let's just start off with, oh, that does not change a bit. Start off with something like this low, right? So let's start off with this, and we can bring this all the way through here. Again, we want this to be still a cliff, so we might bring it down even lower. Let's see. In relation to this, I think that will probably be a little bit too much, but let's see it in action. So let's take this, take the radius, and bring it all the way through here. Okay, this is probably where the terrain will stop. This will probably be where the terrain starts to go down more. Again, we want this to be a floodplain, so we want this to go a bit more up higher here. Like so. And then this is going to continue down here. All right. That creates somewhat of cliff there. Now this I think might work out well here because here we can do something like this, right? Where this goes up to here, curved, curved, curved. So we have a nice curve going on here with the terrain. Okay. This ramp we don't really have to worry about until we get to that point, right? So this is going to be a cliff, like I said. So let's make this a cliff. It doesn't matter really how high this cliff is. We just don't want it to be too high, but also we don't want it to be too low. So this should be okay for cliff height, right? Honestly, might be a little big. We said that about the other one though too. All right. So let's get this height going on for our mountain. Like I said before, it's okay for our mountain height to just be modified along with the max height of some of these areas because, well, we want to make sure that they're okay. I kind of messed up here. We didn't want to elevate this. I was following the cliff side and not the mountain range. Okay, so this is going to want to go this way. Okay, since we're going to have to do this anyways because our mountains are going to be larger. Once we get to here, let's smooth this out. I keep messing up. Sorry, guys. I think my brain just checks out for a split moment whenever I just do this for a while. Okay. Nice. We have that going on. And then we can bring this inland more. Because this is going to be the actual height of our operations area. Okay. And then we will probably want to bring this up here. Bring this. Ooh, let's not do that one. Bring this up here. Smooth this out a bit. Right. It is still important that some of these mountain ranges have parts where the side of it isn't really modified. Okay, let's work on the smooth bottom here with the bottom of this to make it not look as rigid. All right. Same thing with right here. Well, actually, that's a mountain range, so it's going to be changed anyways. Okay. And then we want to bring this up, bring this up, and bring this up. Think about this as like the area in Jurassic World where the movie, you have the beaches where the engine crew is coming in with their vehicles. And think of this as kind of like where the raptor enclosure was. We're not going to do something like that, but that's what this whole area is kind of inspired by. Okay, let's now bring this in a bit more. Just flatten this entire area out where our mountain is going to be. All right. I remember doing Jurassic World Evolution, the first game, and doing something like this every map. And I just speed through it, not knowing what you guys would want to see for this. Because honestly, sometimes this is boring. Sometimes, you know, you guys just want to see me build it. But over the time of Evolution 2, I started to realize that this is actually kind of my favorite part about it. Oh, it's not the building the different buildings now. It's not the dinosaurs. It's the forming of the terrain, the thinking about it, like how everything will work together, right? Because I said, we'll have a water, like a river, right? We'll have a river that goes through here, and goes through here. Now, once you get to this point, it's just like, what are we going to do? Is it just going to stop? But I also said, let's do a river from here. So we can do a river from here, right? River from the lagoon area. Probably it's going to be up here because this lagoon area, I don't know. But we're going to have a river, make a waterfall, right? Waterfall goes in here. And then we have our aviary, which makes sense why we have a lake here, because water from here and water from here will eventually make a lake. And then, you know, it'll overflood. And then we have a floodplain with all of our dinosaurs. So we're actually thinking about the scenarios here, thinking about how it would logically make sense. And a lot of the, like my Jurassic Park Japan build, the water there does not make sense at all. It really doesn't. But then we have something like this where this will be a dam, right? So we have to think about this in that case as well. I don't really want this to be a dam where the water is blocked too much, right? I want this to be a dam as kind of like a bridge, but with areas that you could walk, or areas that have grading. So it's not a dam, it's I guess more of a bridge. Uh like in the new Planet of the Apes movie where the orangutan dies. Basically it's just a bridge that goes across here. So maybe we can do something with the vehicles. I have no clue, but maybe we'll modify the path. But yeah. So we do still have to modify this right here. This is going to be easy. We just got to do the sides here. And then bring this in, slope it up. Nice. Okay. And then I guess now it's time for mountain time. So mountain time, this is going to be a bit interesting because I am not really a good designer of mountains. I always just do large things and just have it be done. But I have to actually think about how this will be with everything else. So the aviary here, it's going to be cut off by the mountain. So I don't think I want to do this side yet. I have no clue about how I was going to do that side. But for here, what we can do is we can bring this up, right? Obviously, the center of the mountain is going to probably be the highest. And then this is where it can start going down because of the terrain change. Okay. So it's getting to this point, right? Getting to this point that we have to think about with this. Okay. So what I usually do is I just create it and then smooth it out and see how we go from there. But there's also the thing with like, oh, are we going to make the mountains rigid? Or are we going to make them actually look good? Are we not going to make them look like a Unity game back from like 2019? You know? So it's just a bit of modifying it to make it work with the actual terrain itself. Because obviously we have all of our changes that we did. We still want to make sure that those will exist with our changes with the terrain. But there's also certain parts where it's just like, do I still want this to be as wide? Do I still want the mountain range to be this small? And a lot of the time you're going to think about it because you have to like build up to that mountain, you know? We're going to want to like do something like that, right? Where we obviously cut off the side of the mountain, but we create more space on the mountain for trees or something. And then we can also do something like this where we just take our flattening brush, bring it all the way through here, right? Still elevates, but we can do a larger cliff here, right? That goes all along here, and then it just cuts off at the mountain, right? So there's a lot of things we can do with this, right? There's a lot of things we can do with this, and then, you know, we're gonna probably eventually want to bring this out, right? And then this now will have a cliff texture because this is a cliff now, you know? So there's a lot of things we can do with this stuff. And we just want to make sure that it works. Okay, so let's bring this in. Okay, and then this will stay the same. This is obviously a cliff here, so let's bring this in a bit more. Lift that up. Bring this in. We're going to make this go into the terrain there. Right, so this is going to be trees up to it, right? So this is going to be filled with trees, most likely. Let's see if that adds a different, like, texture. Not texture. Like, ooh, zigzag. I don't know what to call it. All right, then let's bring this up and make it this a cliff because that's what it is. It's a cliff. All right, and then let's take our smooth bottom here, like so. Bring the rigidness of the top of the cliff out a little bit more. See if dinosaurs can still get up that. Small ones can. Okay, so we want to make sure this right here, this right here is changed. So dinosaurs can't get up this. Right? And then same thing with right here. We want this to go into the mountain. Right? All right, then we can build something like that. I actually don't know if dinosaurs are going to be in this area. But, you know, we're trying to plan for most things to be just roaming around the park. All right. So that is good. And then we can do something with trees here, right? So let's take this, put some trees down. And boom. Okay. Same thing with right here. So what's nice about the new terrain tools is it does provide these rocks here, although we're not going to use a lot of them, right? So we're going to use this as kind of a reference because obviously we're going to have our two different types of cliffs here. This is going to go lower, this is going to go higher, but we also have the cliffside there, which we'll modify. So we're going to actually remove this because we're going to place down our old rocks here. Same thing with probably right here, but here, right here, you can see that we have a lot of rocks. I don't like that. So what we're going to actually do is we're going to extend this right over here. So this cliff is going to, or this, I guess, ridge is going to change, right? And then this is how we're going to basically form all of our mountains. We're going to just do trial and error and see what looks the best after a while, right? So this is going to be this now. And we're going to build up from that. So obviously we have some weird thing going on here. We're going to want to probably use a ramp tool to mess with it because it is kind of hectic, right? So we want to smooth it out now, make it work some more, build up along here, probably do like another little gap there, right? Okay. And then we probably want to do some work here with this. Same thing with right here. Maybe even lower. I have no clue. The point of this is that things change as we build the mountains. And honestly, the mountains might take the longest to actually do. So, because there's a lot of ways we can do mountains and we want this to look good. This is our terrain. This builds the environment of our park. Okay, guys. So, what I am doing here is a bit different. So, I've decided that I wanted to make this island not a Eastern Pacific island. I want this to end up being somewhat of a, I guess, Western Pacific island. So, most likely this would end up being inspired by a island in Southeast Asia, more so than anything else. So I wanted to use the Eastern Asian woodland because it provides a lot more foliage in between. So we can get away with scenery items like this, right? Where we have cliffs, but we also have the foliage going over the mountain. And it takes up more space than the palm trees. And so we're going to rework this side on this island or on this mountain. But for right here, we are pretty much okay. Now we have a bit of an issue here, but I think we can fix this. Let's go ahead and take this and bring this in more to here. Okay. Now let's go ahead and take our East Asian woodland brush and go along this. So here I'm just playing with all the different types of things I could possibly try to do. I'm also using the cliff paintbrush instead of the rock one. I kind of didn't realize that I was using the wrong one until I saw a few minutes ago. So we're just using this. I actually really love this so much more than the rocks that get placed randomly. Just because it just provides something different rather than, let's just have rocks that just randomly get placed because the terrain doesn't know what to do with it, So we can play around with that and we can make this all look nice. So the point of this slide was that it's supposed to kind of edge into this field right here where there's going to be an enclosure in between these two mountains. Now this one's a smaller mountain, so it shouldn't take up that much space, but I think we're doing good with the spacing of this one because when we think about it right here, we are going to have the Dimetrodons right here in this area so they can swim and eat and all that stuff. And then we're going to have a bridge right here. And if we want to make the bridge for the vehicles, we can totally do that. The only thing with that is the water being in the way, but we can totally make it look like the water is not even in the way by placing a bunch of rocks there and all that stuff and making the just a line through the water so the vehicle can go through. And then the other path for the vehicle would possibly go right here. So basically we have a core vehicle entrance right here. It goes through here, across the bridge, and then connects to the dock area over here. And then this one takes you all the way through here, through this large herbivore enclosure. And then it takes you through here and into the station. So the cliffside right here, there won't be dinosaurs, I think, past, this point, this line, not this line. Because if that's the case, we have to think about it like that. Because we will just continue the fence from this and then have it cut off over here. Okay. And the water is supposed to keep the dinosaurs from getting out too. So we will also have the fence right here alongside the bridge that connects right here. And then we'll have the dock right here as well. Fencing is going to be something entirely different though. So we have to think about that too. For the most part, we are done with this side of the island. This side of the mountain. It looks nice. We just want to work on this side. The issue with this mountain over here, though, it's going to be probably the same. There is the whole thing about the mountains having different styles per region. And I wanted to try to make this as close as possible to what these islands could look like IRL. But I have a feeling that since I am not a person of any sort of background in this type of environment, I will make those mistakes, but it's totally okay. We are just planning out the island and trying to make it as best as we can for this region. Okay, so for this, I think it looks a bit bland. I think we might want to have this be like this side. So this is going to be a bit of a haul that we do here because it's going to change this side up a lot. So instead of doing this large area for our trees, what we can do is we could have this go down, have this go down, and then bring this side up. So the way we fixed this was we brought up the terrain with the ramp, and we're going to want to smooth it out a bit. Okay, so this kind of hides the fact that this was a cliff at some point, and we should be able to start placing down a lot of trees here, specifically the East Asian woodland. Right, and you can see that we have our rocks here. So we can go ahead and try to experiment with this to see if we like it the way it is, if we place back our cliff. So we can place back our cliff right here. See if we like it. It looks a lot better. We just have to fix this up a bit. And of course, we're hiding down the bottom areas. So if we go into the obstructions, you can see where the dinosaurs cannot go through. And for the most part, that is okay. Right, there might be a few gaps that they can get through, but as long as they're connected on the outside, we are okay. Like right here, the dinosaurs won't be getting to this point over here. So as long as we can put a fence down right here, we are okay. All right, nice. So let's go ahead and try to flatten this out a bit more and bring it into the mountain a bit. So we can remove some of these rocks, because these rocks I really don't like when they get placed like heavily like this. So I do want to get rid of them if they show up like that to me. But only if there's a lot. So like, you know, there's cases like this where you can just remove this and put this down and just change how this looks. Because there should be no rock paint here anyways, because this is going to be a area that the vehicles go through just to do maintenance checks just to get to the other side of the island, because I don't want the vehicles going through this enclosure. I mean, they are going to end up probably going through that enclosure or going over the mountains, because the vehicles in this game are somewhat, the AI for them is kind of not smart. So you know, totally possible if they just do some random stuff like that. Okay, we might want to roughen this up a bit and smooth up the tops. So just modify it just so it doesn't look too bad. Okay, we're not going to roughen it up. We're just going to use this tool. Okay, just bring this out a little bit more because we don't want this to look as flat as it was. Okay, and I know smoothing it out makes it look flat, but it's looking better than what it was. Okay, let's take our rocks, put them like that. Alright, so this side is looking so much better already. We have more connected land for these guys. And every time we mess with this, it keeps on changing it. So let's just try to place this down and make this look good. Worst case scenario, we can just place down our own trees. Because this is kind of annoying. I don't like how this looks because of that. Or we might just have to level it out and just like do 1 and then 2. Or this can just break this entirely and just add more rocks. Okay, no, it didn't. That's nice. Alright. We bring this around. We paint this. Nice. Alright, good. Now we can totally do the same thing with this side right here. Although I don't think we should. If we do something with that, we should probably do it for this. And this is going to be more hectic as well. So we want to drag this and bring this up here. Okay. And then we can leave this side of the cliff there. And let's see how this looks. So we just paint this. Again, we just want to bring vegetation to the sides of the mountains. We can fix everything else later that gets brought there. These rocks right here, they're not really a problem. These rocks right here, I don't really like, so we're gonna remove those. Again, this is all up to, you know, your guys' preference on what you guys like for your vegetation, for your rocks, sides of your mountains as well. Okay, and we have something like this. So let's bring something like this over here as well. We have a side. This is looking so much better than what it was. And then now we just have this side. This side, I wasn't going to do anything special with it. This is just kind of a side that's hidden from everything else. There's nothing special over here, right? Because I think on our map, what we have over here is... what is over here? Nothing. This is probably going to be an open field for some dinosaurs that we put on later on. So we're good with this being not rocks, but cliff. Okay. If it looks too bland, what we can do though is we can bring this up right here. Bring this up right here. Give it some just difference in the terrain. Because it'll just, you know, if it just looks too bland, it's just gonna look too bland. And we just want to add some cliff there. Add some trees. Add some trees. Fix up the cliffs again. Like so. Just so it just doesn't look too empty. Okay, we can do the same thing here. Connect these two, right? We could also just connect this as well. This is getting a lot easier to do over time once you actually have an idea of what you guys want to do with this. So this is gonna look like it's all connected over here. We just had to remove it. Gonna place this down. Let's actually lower the radius. Bring this down. Okay. Nice. So it looks like it goes up. We're going to modify this again too because we kind of messed with that a bit. Okay. Bring that there and that down like that. Bring that there. So it looks like it's actually connected to this now, which is what we wanted initially. And boom. Right. Another thing we can do with this mountain. There's a lot of things we can do with this mountain, with mountains, which is nice. So we can also just straight up take this, go up to here, have this go around, have this go down here, smooth out all of it, and then bring up the vegetation. We might want to change the radius on this. Bring up the vegetation and bring this down here. Okay, so we just kind of create another different like level of it. Okay, the rocks are okay. These rocks are here specifically. They're okay with them being right there. But again, this is just adding more and more depth to this mountain. And I think that's something that we needed to do. We have these banana plants that I don't really want there. But I think we can't really do what we want if we don't keep them there. So I think that's okay. Right? Maybe we can slowly get rid of them. Nice, that actually worked. Okay. And now we have a nice mountain here. Obviously, we can add some rocks and stuff, but that's some texturing and detail that will probably happen at the end. Because, again, we don't want to mess with it too much. To where the point is just like there's so many things that are already added. We want this to be a blank map because I'm going to upload this all on the workshop as like pretty much empty things, just the terrain after I do this. Okay. Now, the next thing we should really work on is this mountain right here, but yeah, let's do that. Let's do this mountain, a small one. Okay, so I think I need to do the big one because the small one is gonna shrink or grow depending on the other one as well. It's just I was putting this one off because of the aviary of how that would look, and that this isn't actually going to be a cliff. This is going to slope into the mountain. So there's going to be some forest here on the edge of this. So it's not going to be entirely just beach and cliff. It'll be forest and then mountain. So I think if we were to start with something on this one, I think we should start with that, because I kind of falsely led the narrative there. So let's create slopes. This one might be a little bit thinner than the other one. And it's weird because the other one was already thin as it is. And so we want to slope this. Just, just smooth it. That'll work, right? We have the beach going into the mountain. But this will be a lot thinner than this one. It'll probably end up looking like Sorna terrain. Now, all this, what we want to do with this isn't going to be cliff, right? So we have to actually think about it like this. So this is a cliff, and then this is going to be where the aviary is, right? So if we want to plan this, the aviary will go pretty much right here, right? Just snug in the spot. It'll be a thing in the mountain where we can put our broods, right? And then if you think about this, this is going to be where the monorail station is. All right. And the other monorail station is going to be like somewhere right here. And this monorail station will end up being, I think, like right here. Maybe. Don't know entirely yet, but it will probably end up being right there. Yep. So we have to take this into consideration because behind the monorail station, it's going to be forest. So again, it's going to slope up into it on this side. But we want to maybe start that back here a bit. So let's start it here. Slope that into that. Same thing with this. All right, so this is just gonna all be sloped, and then we start the cliff. Once we get to the aviary, I'm gonna leave this area like as rigid as that is. And then same thing with right here. This is gonna be sloped up. This is gonna be sloped up all the way down through here. Again, this is what I meant by the mountain probably end up being a Sorna one, because the mountains on Sorna did seem a bit thinner than the ones on Nublar, even though, same location, but okay. So this is going to be like a rolling hill up until a mountain. Okay. So if we take the East Asian woodland and we apply it up to right here, this is where our forest line is going to be. Okay. And then obviously it's a beach, so we're gonna have to have like some sort of palm trees. So we can do some palms up into it. Same thing with here. Just a few. We really don't want the height of it being shown, right? We want the trees to start spawning in where the ground is flat. Okay. So we don't want to show the bumps. Okay. Good. Now here, this is where the mountain starts. You can see this level, right, where it starts to get flat. That's where the mountain's going to start. So let's go ahead and do it like this. So we're just going to bring this up, just like we did with the last one. We're going to bring this up. Now right here, I'm thinking of doing more forest. So on the outsides of the island, we are going to make it, on this side actually, we are going to make it look a lot like normal. It's not going to be as cliffy. And I'm just doing like some rolling hill type thing here that we're going to put some trees on probably. Right. So on this side, there's going to be more visible cliffs, right? So this is all going to be seen as a cliff. And then on this side, we are going to integrate the trees into the mountain more, like how we did over here. We're going to do the same thing here, make it look like the trees go into land, not just instant mountain as soon as the tree line ends. And obviously we're going to repaint all of this to be the cliff because that was a overlook on my part. Let's just go ahead and paint that. But that's the plan for this mountain. So we're going to speed through this. And I'm going to, obviously return if I have any updates with this. But let's just go ahead and do that. All right. So we are pretty much done with this mountain now. This one was easier to make. It was a lot smaller than I thought it was originally going to be. I think the sizing on it actually really helps with the scale of being on the beach. And looking up, you can still see the trees. You can still see a way through the mountains without it being a big barrier. So that's nice. That's kind of what we were going for with this. Uh, Now I would increase the sizing of the mountains though, but unfortunately I don't really want to mess with the scale of the rest of the island. Now you can see we have like our large ones. So from a first part first person non-godlike view, right? This looks pretty good. From up top it looks very small, but I'm going to try to avoid criticizing that and actually focus on more so the rest of the map. Now, there are some areas that I do want to fill in some more, like this, for example. This was just something that I kind of overlooked, I guess. Same thing with possibly this right here. And it's okay if they add rocks, I guess, to this part of it. Um, we just don't want it to overbear it with rocks and make it just go up the side of the mountain for no reason. Um, yeah. Okay. So let's maybe just ease this a bit. I don't know. I don't really like the rocks. The rocks make it look weird. I'd rather just have it be cliff. Now, having rocks up to like a certain point would work on the backside right here. But I think we look good. I think this looks good. There's a lot of vegetation. I really love how it just goes up the side of the mountain here. And we kind of took away the area for the aviary. We are still going to be building an aviary here, but it's not going to be focused. We're just going to build on top of it first. Put the water that we were going to make connect to both sides of the thing, both sides of the island first before we do the aviary, because again, this is something that I'm going to put on the workshop for you guys without any of the, it's just going to be an island, you know? Maybe you guys don't want to make the same build as me, so I'm thinking about that. All right. Next thing we have here is a smaller mountain. So this one isn't really that much. This one's not going to take that much time at all. It's just going to honestly be the same with the two. We're going to have one side of it be accessible with the forest and the other side as well. We just want to make sure we bring this out more. Now, again, we have a monorail station here, so we want to think about the monorail and how it's going to actually play out in this. So we want to bring this back a little bit more, and then we want to elevate it up. So let's elevate it up high. Let's not do that. Elevate it up here. That's going to be forest for the most part. Right? So this is going to be forest for the most part up to a certain point. Let's go ahead and do that all the way around though. So we're going to take this point and make this the forest. Okay. Now we're going to want to smooth around it. Just the simple smooth. I'm not going to detail it that much. Okay. And then we're going to want to take our mountain. So let's shorten the radius so we can get some quicker movements on the brush. Okay. And we want to bring this to a certain height. I think that should be okay. Not the height, but the inner mountain, right? The large part, the tall part of the mountain, right? So I think this would be okay for it. Now we want to take our smooth brush and just flatten, smooth it out a little bit more on the top right here, like so. I think that's a good height for a mountain. Okay, and then we want to create our initial base for it. Okay, so this is going to be just smoothed out because we're going to mess with that later. Now, all of this will most likely be forest. So let's go ahead and place this down right here. Same thing with this. So I like to use the forest tool as a check mark. So we can place the forest all the way around. But once you start seeing that it starts placing rocks, that's where we want to take it up the mountain rather than it placing more rocks. So think about this as Jurassic World, right? If we were doing a Jurassic World build, this is where the control center will be, right? It would be here, overlooking the innovation center, which would be here as well. And then that's where it would be, not on the mountain itself. There are some remakes of Jurassic World that I've made where I put it on the mountain itself and I kind of just overlooked it. Um, Not something I'm going to be doing with this next Jurassic World remake, but yeah. Anyways, let's flatten out this top a bit. Okay, we're going to want to actually bring this one up, flatten it up here. Okay, then we're going to want to take our dynamic ramp and put it through here. Okay, smooth out the sides, smooth out the sides. We have a little bit to work with here, so I don't think it will work the way I want it to. Yeah, see, it just adds the trees. So let's not do that then. If we were to do that, we should possibly start powering up with the sides to make more trees. So let's go ahead and do that then. Let's bring this up right here. Okay, which then alternately brings it up to, that's a little bit too high, to here, which then this becomes this level of terrain. All right, so this can go up here. Might want to do this a couple times just to get a certain terrain going. Okay, so this is gonna look like one big thing. Possibly same thing with this as well. All right, make it look like it trails up the mountain, like so. All right, and then we want to use our test as well. Okay, so this is the test. We want to flatten this out a bit. Oh, wrong tool. Flatten this out a bit, get more trees on the edge of the cliff here. And then you can see parts like this where there's rocks. You want to smooth that out some more. And then place your trees down. Okay. And then you have the back side over here. That's going to be an issue. So let's put our cliff down. Get something going with this. And then down some more. Maybe even take this entire part and just have it go up over here. Smooth it out. Then take a brush and then just drag it all along here. And then we want to fix the other parts with the rocks with our cliff brush. Again, we probably are going to want to completely make this the cliff texture instead of the rock texture. Okay. So we have a little bit of an issue here, but that's okay. We can just remove it, put that there. I would want to put some more trees here, but I think if I put those trees, it's going to mess it up a bit more. Okay, let's flatten this out a bit. Move that. I just want to make sure that we can get some trees here. Okay. There we go. Just getting some more trees is essential in some parts of this, right? So it just doesn't look like you can see the mountain behind it immediately. Okay. Then there's going to be moments where you don't want trees. And there's going to be moments where you want to actually put down the trees themselves. So this is going to go up. And this is going to flatten out up here. So we're going to smooth this out a bit. And then we're going to place our trees here all the way up here. So we want to fix this so that we actually trail our trees up this slope. Okay, so from here to possibly here, we want to do it. Then we want to flatten this out a bit. Move it out. I don't think this will work. It works a bit. Again, it's still having some issues. Let's smooth it out on the sides. We're making it a little bit thick, but it's okay because when we make it thick, we can actually just take the cliff brush and just trail this on, making it look like it's partially going up. So, you know, we still have our vegetation there. I think I will keep it the way it is. Can't really sides here. I think I will keep it the way it is here. Let me just flatten out the tops a bit. Kind of looks like the rebirth mountain from behind the whole entire facility. So let's go ahead and take our cliff, put it on the side here. Okay, we have something good going. Now let's do something that we actually haven't been doing. Let's take our foliage and put it here. So let's just place down some trees here. Now, if we want to look for certain ones, we can go ahead and look for certain themes and certain biomes. So we can go tropical. Go here. Get our bushes. We don't want cypress trees. Right, we just want to start placing down some trees. I'm not really paying attention to what trees I'm placing down, which is an issue. But we're fine. We're fine. Trees. I don't think sugar maple trees or any of those trees spawn in the tropical biome. There's on the tree. Okay, there we go. All right, so we just want to place down some things just so we can remove that part where we can just see through. We can still see through it, but it's a lot better. You can still see through a lot of this, but it's better. Okay. So for this, let's go ahead and just flatten out the very top of this. Maybe down to this level. Okay. Now, I don't want to make this side have vegetation on it. I would rather us have it go up here and up to this. So what we can do with that is we can bring this up. Now, that might be a little bit too much of a slope for our brush to think that it wants to go up there. So let's go ahead and layer this up until we get to that point of this mountain. Still might be having some issues here, but let's go ahead and flatten this, have this go up to here, then have this go up to here. And that's going to look so weird from the outside. So let's smooth that out on the outside a bit. And this is going to cause some issues. It's okay. We'll get through them. So we just want to use our brush as a testing tool real quick. See what we need to work on. Honestly, that's looking pretty good as is. And we can just fill in the blanks with our cliff tool. Like so, like honestly, that looks good. The only thing I don't really like is this part right here. This part right here could use some work. So let's go ahead and make some magic happen. So we're gonna bring this out some more and then bring this out right here. Then bring this out right here. It's just primarily because we have it go instantly high right here. So let's go ahead and fix that. We may have messed up another part, but it's okay. We can work our way through it. Okay, we fixed that area. Okay, that's nice. Now we have to work on this area right here. So let's fix that. All right, let's smooth out the sides a bit. Cool. And now it is fixed. So let's replace this with our cliff brush. Same thing with up here and same thing with right here. Perfect. So we have now a trail of grass going up the mountain, making it look like you can actually go up there. Now on this side, what I probably would want to do is I'd probably want to bring this out a bit right here and put some trees down right here. Okay. That a bit. And smooth it out. Okay. And then we can just smooth this out, bring the trees up in there, and place some more if we need to. Like so. And then I was thinking maybe we can bring this up here. That's a big change, I know, but let's go ahead and try that out a bit. Okay. So this is just going to bring us all the way down to here, just so we just don't have a large gap between the two. And maybe, honestly, I might just want to... maybe I just want to bring this out too. Or maybe I can just turn this to rocks. Something like that. I think that works. Okay. And then right here, we probably want to do the same thing. Smooth that out. And then place vegetation on it. Like so. Take our cliff tool and then just go through the large parts. We could have the rocks still here. But like not just hanging off the side. Make it like on the top if we need to. Have the rocks. Okay, now we have some... I think right here is okay to have the rocks. Okay. Is that good? I think that's actually pretty nice. Okay, we can't fix that like that. Okay. That's okay. Okay, but we have a nice little mountain in between again. And I think we might be good with that. The rest of this, we want to just put the terrain down. We want to probably work on this cliff next, because I think that's the only part that we need to work on now. And I guess there is this cliff too. Let's just do that. Okay. So for this cliff, we're going to pretty much do what we did on the other side. Now, what we did on the other side was completely random. So let me explain what's going to go on here. So we're going to place this down on the beach line right here, kind of taking up the beach a bit. All right. And then up top here, what we want to do is we want to make sure that this is pretty much flat at the edge. You don't want it to curve too much down. Okay, it is pretty much set up for us in a decent way. Okay, and then we want to bring this all the way through. Get it off at some point. And then that's when I'm going to start using the cliffs. Okay. So, we want to take this, brush the trees, and bring it all the way along this, or along this cliff, right? We want to bring this all the way along and make sure that our cliffs have proper vegetation on the top of it. Now, there are going to be some points where you're going to want to just leave kind of like a lookout, like how we did here. We can just leave some of them there, you know, just in case we, just want to have something random, right? Then we're going to get to parts like this. For here, we're just going to use these trees. Now, once you get to this part right here, we're actually going to not want to do vegetation. This is technically the beach up until like right here, right? Then after that, it's going to be cliff. So we might want to actually specify that that's cliff there. And then here, we're going to want to take our cliff brush and make sure that there's no sand on the sides of this. And if we want to, we can take some sand and just have a trail up like that. Okay, but we just want to make sure that there's no sand on the cliffs themselves. Okay, that works. And then we can take some jungle, place it. Yeah, we want to remember that this right here is going to be where our fence is. So we're going to want to change this so it's not accessible via any dinosaurs, right? So in this part, in these parts right here, you can just do some rocks. This is where it's going to be slightly barren, right? Up as well. Same thing with right here. You can just have this be a drop-off point with some rock. And same thing with right here. All right. And then if we want, we can take the grass tool and then just tap on the edges of that, make it look like it's a bit, it's not just placed there like hardly. Okay. And then now let's take some vegetation all alongside there. Right, and I think we're good here. So we're not going to keep it going, keep the vegetation on this side right here with the beach. We're just going to place some more palms here, and I think we should be good. Now, right here, we're going to want to make sure that this translates correctly. So what am I doing? Oh, I'm changing the intensity. So let's bring this a little bit here, and then we want to make sure that we can't see that through here. So let's go ahead and bring this up to here. Okay, and then this is where the lagoon is going to be, but we'll obviously do that later. And yeah, I think our island is pretty much completed for this main area right here. Okay. So what we want to do now is we want to get rid of all of the extra little markers that we have here. So this we can just get rid of. Same thing with this right here and this right here. Again, we might want to be careful because the vegetation or the brushes get rid of vegetation now. All right, just remove the markers, make sure there's no more. We can remove the monorail track or the monorail stations of where they would be. Okay, nice. So one last thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we add some more just vegetation on the sides right here. We're gonna act like this is an entire like really new island for the next video, and we're just gonna build off of the one that I'm providing for you guys. So by the time the next video or the next part of this comes out, you guys will all be able to make my build or make any other build that you guys want. We're just gonna bring this in a bit more. Okay, so there's a couple of things that we are going to be doing before we finalize. What the hell is happening there? Interesting. I have no idea why that tree was elevated. That's a large tree, no? Is it because of the... Oh, it's because of the... Okay. So we're just going to fill in some of this empty spot with vegetation. We're not going to be specific about it. So we're just going to fill some of this empty spot with vegetation. Just so you guys can have some more just randomness. Okay, so this map, we are going to be getting rid of the vegetation though. Okay. But we are going to be doing something else beforehand. So what we are going to be doing is this. We are going to be connecting this with rivers. So there are going to be some parts of this map that are going to be just split up in half. So we are going to be putting a river right here. So there's going to be a river just going through this enclosure. Now we might need to make some bridges for our vehicles because for some reason the vehicles cannot still go through water for some reason, even the shallow water. That's an interesting decision, but I'm not going to complain about it. All right. Then the next thing we want to do is, so since that's one just layer, the next thing we want to do is we want to take some more water and to go through here. Now this is where it's going to get funky with it because this is going to have to be a waterfall. So we might want to make like a little pond here. Just right here. And then have this be a pond as well. All right. So then this is going to go over here. And then we're going to have some deep water in here as well. And then we're going to have some water right here as well. So we're going to have a waterfall here too. Deep water go that way. And then this is going to connect to the ocean here and connect to the ocean here. All right, let's get rid of the vegetation that is here. Okay. And then this is where we're going to make our floodplains. So let's go ahead and make like a... actually, let's not make a cypress swamp. Let's just make a normal, like, wetland area. All right. So this would make sense to be a little bit, you know, like moist and a little bit messy over here. And then this will just continue over here, giving us some weird textures and weird water issues, as you guys can see. All right. And then this is where everything will be normal again. So we can add some grassland here. Wow, that is some very, very bright flowers. Here, this is what we wanted. All right. Maybe we want to... Okay. And then let's do this on this side as well. Nice. And then let's add some options for this. All right, nice. Now, if I want to add like dirt underneath, I don't think I can, right? No, I can. Okay, what about rock? Okay, so we're gonna add some rock. alongside all of the rivers. Now, once we get to this area, this is going to turn into a beach. So we're going to add some sand to that as well. But for right now, we're just going to make this all rock. And then follow this alongside all of this. This might change the vegetation though. Yeah, it will. Okay. So we're going to have to reapply the vegetation on the rivers. But for right here, we can just honestly bring this out or have this go down here. Like so. And then for this one, we can do the same thing. Okay, now let's take our beach and let's lower the intensity so we can kind of just drag it along here and make it like continue on, but like have it like kind of fade away, you know? Maybe lower the intensity even more. Okay. I think we are doing good on that end. And then once we get over here, it's going to be the same thing. All going to be sandy until we get to certain parts here where this is just going to all be a mess of sand. Okay. Same thing here. All right. All right. So we have that going, and then now over here we want to do the same thing, or it just goes along the river up a certain point and just ends. Stops being sandy. Same thing over here. All right. And then we can bring some of our forest out over here some more. Same thing with this over here. And we have our island. Maybe we want to do some of this. All right, then we want to take our East Asian brushland and just honestly just go through this and just start placing this a lot. Okay, we maybe want to smooth this out a bit too. Okay, and then replace this with cliff. Probably put down a tree or two. Going up to here. Same thing with this side. Like so. and we are good. All right. So this is what our island will look like. So we did spend 3 hours making this island today. It was a great time with me. I had a lot of fun making the mountains, even though the mountains were the most difficult part of all this. But it is looking really amazing. Let's do a top-down overview of this and see where we started. So this is going to be a fun little paradise island that we're going to be working with. You guys can obviously download it. I don't think I'll include the grid with your guys's. I don't know. Well, I'll see. I don't know. I'll save the grid one, right, for this specific view that you're seeing right here, because this is what I'm going to be using. So I'll add this on my workshop as well. But I'm going to also show the one without the grid as well. But anyways, guys, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was really, really fun, really, really cool, and it looks awesome. It looks really awesome. I can't wait to start building on this and actually make Paradise Island. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for joining us today. If you guys did like this video, please don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to like the video. Also, click that notification bell. It helps a lot, even though you guys might not know it. And if you guys want to join the Discord, it is absolutely free. The link is in the description below, and it's on the card in the top right. And we'll see you guys on Saturday for our Jurassic Park Japan. And yeah, thank you guys for joining today. I'll see you guys in the next one. Also, all the codes are in the description below for the map downloads, share codes.